He won't let me talk to our young friend. He respects Legrand far too much to disobey his orders. If I want to get into the cargo hold, I'll have to get rid of the constable first. I have to talk to the young fellow right away. If I want to get into the cargo hold, I'll have to get rid of the constable first. He won't let me talk to our young friend. And what about the other gunshot? Could the second missing bullet from the murder weapon be stuck down there in one of the wooden crates? Curious. One can easily toss a gun into the sea from almost anywhere on the ship without being noticed. And yet, the murderer chose the one spot where it's not actually possible. The gangway is hard to miss. Why did the murderer drop the gun on the gangway? They must have noticed their mistake, even if their back was to the sea. So, why didn't they take the gun and throw it a few meters farther into the sea? The alcoholic drinks and everything that goes with them is top-notch on this ship. As expected, fresh ice and tongs.
Constable Zelna, what is the meaning of this? Are even the police light-fingered nowadays?
I need this tool for a criminal investigation.
Well then, why didn't you say so? So, how are you getting along? Can I be of any help?
Actually, you could answer a few questions. What was your experience of last night?
Oh, terrible. Dinner was fantastic. Everyone was excited about having a pleasant drink under the stars. And then this.
You were in the saloon all night long.
As the captain, I have to care for my passengers. After you and the others rushed out, I tried to maintain a festive atmosphere. But when the alarm goes off, I lose the battle.
How was the Baroness?
She really surprised me. After she was so unapproachable at the reception and didn't show her face for the entire afternoon, I was afraid she was one of the bores and bourgeoisie. But then she arrived in the early evening in the best of moods. Already had a few, if you know what I mean.
Did she say anything to you?
She asked me where Legrand's cabin was. I told her, then invited her to come for drinks in the evening. I said it would be great fun. The whole ship will be there, and you don't want to miss that, I told her.
And then?
She seemed to like the idea. She smiled, and then left again for a few minutes. Then she came back and seemed very happy. We drank a toast to life.
But at some point she didn't feel well anymore?
She overdid it a bit. She suddenly started to swoon and almost spilled her drink. I asked her if she wanted to rest for a moment in her cabin. At first, she didn't want to. She definitely wanted to stay in the saloon. But then she realized that she really did need to lie down. We left together. You know the rest of the story.
Did everyone drink from the same bottle of champagne last night?
There was more than one bottle, if that's what you mean. There were quite a few guests, and the event lasted several hours.
The last bottle of champagne, the one the Baroness drank from, did anyone else drink from it?
Certainly.
We have reason to believe that the champagne was drugged.
Incredible. But wouldn't that have made everyone drowsy?
Not if it was only the Baroness's glass that was drugged.
I see. That's possible. On a night like that, many glasses are filled and emptied. There are several stewards, many guests. No one keeps track of every glass and every bottle.
A few drops in a glass?
Yes, it's certainly possible.
The glass you handed me last night, where did you get it?
Ah, I understand. You think your glass was poisoned as well?
Did you pour it yourself?
No. I saw that you weren't doing so well and wanted to rescue the situation. I took the first available glass and I give it to you.
Was it on the table?
No, I hurry over to you, together with Dr. Gebhardt, who... Of course. He had the glass in his hand. He was looking around for a place to set it down, so that he could examine you. I took it from him.
And gave it to me?
I'd like to apologize for that, but you look so worse for the wear, and I just wanted to comfort you. I didn't think of looking for a new glass for you.
So the doctor had the drugged glass in his hand. Is it possible to find out where the alarm was set off?
I'm afraid not. There are alarms all over the ship.
I saw that they're sealed. Can't we just check whether the seal is broken?
I'm afraid they're gonna be missing on a lot of alarms. You know, this is an old ship, and over the years...
So, you're saying that the alarms haven't been regularly maintained?
I'll inform the crew immediately, of course.
Of course. What can you tell me about the passengers?
Oh, not that much, I'm afraid. I wanted to get to know them properly at the reception. In most cases, I just shook hands with them as they boarded the ship. There are a few regulars on board, and after dinner, I had a conversation with Mr. Kreutzer, a talented violinist, and Lady Westmacott. But you already know them from the train.
It seems like there aren't that many passengers on board.
These bloody airplanes are making our lives miserable. Can you imagine? Grown men prefer to jam themselves into a narrow metal coffins instead of enjoying the fresh sea air on a ship.
It's all about saving time.
It shouldn't be about how much time it takes to get from A to B, but about how you spend that time. What you experience on the journey, that's what it's about.
I'll get back to my investigations now.
Ciao, Constable.
Lady Westmacott seems to be an early bird, but maybe that's just because of all the excitement. I saw a twinkle in her eye on the train. She's eager to be part of a real detective story. Lady Westmacott, already on your oh.
Constable, don't you think before you speak?
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to.
No time for chit-chat. What have you found out?
We're still working on the case. Actually, I have a couple of questions for you.
Please, go ahead.
What did you think of our adventure on the train? An extraordinary story, isn't it?
I'm glad that you were able to prove yourself, Mr. Zellner.
Hopefully not for the last time.
I'm glad that everything ended well. I want to thank you sincerely for taking care of Matthew. I can't bear to think about something happening to him.
It all worked out in the end. Do you think that the thief from the train and the murderer are the same person?
I think the new Raven is capable of anything.
Legrand believes there is no new Raven. He thinks that the old one has returned.
He said that.
Do you think it's possible? Everyone thinks he's dead.
As a dramatist, the return of the Raven would certainly be delightful. A legend comes back from the grave for one last job. It's quite romantic. At the same time, though, I'd be disappointed.
Why is that?
I followed the Raven's career closely. There weren't many burglars with such character and charm. His burglaries were clever and entertaining, but he was sloppy in London. He almost got caught, and I'll never forgive him for the affair on the train. No, I would much rather that the Raven stayed dead and had nothing to do with the burglary or the murder.
What do you think? Who is our suspect?
Everyone. Or almost everyone. Everyone on board is physically capable of shooting someone. But who has the dark desire to take the life of a defenseless person?
One cannot read minds.
And one should not try. You have to collect evidence, traces, clues. That's what will lead us to the killer. It won't be like a bad crime novel, in which they introduce a new character shortly before the end who, surprise, surprise, is also the murderer.
Murderers leave evidence. They're nervous or unnaturally relaxed. They have to adjust constantly.
And because of that, they make mistakes. This is your chance, Constable. If you find the mistake, you'll find your murderer.
Have you noticed anything related to the murder?
Unfortunately not. I was already in my cabin and missed all the commotion. Damnable old age.
You're telling me.
Oh, you're still young. At my age, you have to expect that you won't experience much anymore. And although I've written about murder so many times, I've never actually witnessed one. How exciting.
I doubt everyone is so relaxed in such a situation.
Heartless is the word you're searching for, right, Constable? I certainly didn't want the Baroness to be murdered, but if I can't undo it, then I might as well enjoy it.
What do you think of Inspector Legrand?
He seems to be as skilled as everyone says. Intelligent, focused. I had a chat with him yesterday, and he impressed me, but there's something haunted in his eyes.
I don't think he ever really stopped hunting the Raven.
Catching the Raven made him famous. What if he actually shot the wrong person? Unjustified fame bothers people, the good ones at least.
And you think he's one of the good ones?
Anyone who tries so hard to tear down his own memorial must be honorable. Or insane.
I have to be going, Lady Westmacott.
Please keep me informed, Constable Zellner.
Of course. Why were the down feathers tossed in the vase? Or is there anything else in there? Could work. There's something in there. Ah. Someone stuffed this in the vase. Looks like it's been used to muffle a gunshot. If this isn't an important discovery, I don't know what is. Legrand, here I come. A singed pillowcase is proof that there must have been a second gunshot. Inspector?
Can't you knock?
I didn't realize. I'm
not getting anywhere. I'm going to question each passenger individually. Anyone without an airtight alibi will be checked for gunshot residue.
But, Inspector...
People trip up when you put pressure on them, Constable Zellner. The Raven is nervous. He's changed his methodology and become a murderer. I'll see it in his eyes. After you.
But, Inspector Legrand... We have no proof that the Raven and the murderer are the same person. Quite the opposite. The Baroness's message hints at the fact that she knew the murderer and that he'd killed before.
You may not know it, but I do. I will catch him, with or without your help.
I don't believe it. What's gotten into him? Oh, well, it makes no sense to tell him about my theories if his opinion is already set. I need evidence. Or better yet, the murderer. I also need his lab if I'm going to get anywhere. I need to get in there somehow. And I really need to talk to the stowaway. He may have information, and the inspector will just ignore him since he's too young to be the Raven. Legrand locked the door. The lock isn't especially secure. If I had a wire or something like that, I could probably pick it.
Mr. Kreutzer, come on, you have to give me a bit more. You're the only one who was on the train and who has no alibi for last night.
As I said, I was in my cabin.
Are you sure that it was your cabin and not the Baroness's?
Legrand will question the guests, one after another. But if he doesn't get the answers that he wants to hear, it could become unpleasant for them. English ham and eggs. One advantage on an international trip is the international breakfast. Many of my fellow countrymen think it's outrageous to eat fried bacon, sausages, or anything heavy for breakfast. I, on the other hand, think ham and eggs are the only worthwhile contribution the English have made to international cuisine. Excellent. Ah, that's just what I needed. coffee is not bad at all, but 1 cup is enough. It's not fair. There's a magnificent buffet, but I don't have an appetite. Maybe a side effect of the tranquilizer. Legrand is absorbed in the interrogation. He still seems pretty annoyed. The violinist seems to be bearing the brunt of it. Captain de Conti seems old and tired. The price you pay for a life like his, I suppose. Miss Mayers seems to have found an opportunity to do nothing. Hello, Miss Mayers.
Hello, Mr.
Constable Zellner. Do you think it's appropriate to go sunbathing in a situation like this?
What situation?
A woman was murdered last night.
If refusing to sunbathe could bring the dead back to life, I'd go back to my cabin immediately.
Did you hear or see anything suspicious last night?
No, I didn't feel very well last night. I went to bed early.
So, you're feeling better this morning?
Thanks for asking.
I'm sure your parents are truly sorry that they can't be with you at this difficult time.
Maybe. But I'm not a little girl anymore. And thinking about my fiancé keeps me going.
You're engaged?
Yes. My boyfriend and I got engaged right before the trip. I want to surprise my parents, especially my dad.
I'm sure he'll be very surprised. But what will you do if your father doesn't agree to the engagement?
What choice does he have when he put me on this boat full of thieves and murderers in the first place?
Charming. Enjoy the sun, Miss Mayers, and don't let us disturb you.
If you're trying to make me feel guilty, Constable, it's not working.
I believe I've got everything I can out of him. There's nothing more he can tell me at the moment. Matt is keeping himself busy with that strange game. He seems to be okay again, but I think he'd be running around all over the place if he'd really come to terms with what happened on the train. Hello there, partner.
Hi.
Are you all right?
Uh-huh.
Have you recovered from our adventure?
Mm-hmm. Mr. Zellner,
Hmm?
what's going on?
What do you mean?
Everybody's acting so strange, and there's tape across that door. I saw that in a movie once.
You don't have to be worried.
Is it about the man from the train?
It might be about the thief, yes.
Haven't you caught him yet?
I'm working on it.
Okay.
I heard you and your mom used to argue a lot.
We did. Everything was bad. The house, school, the other kids. We didn't have much money, and I was always alone.
You do know that your mother would love to have been with you, don't you? She had to go out to work to earn money.
She wouldn't have had to, if Dad were still around.
And how do you get along with her now?
I'm always happy when we do something together on vacation. She has more time for me now, and I like my boarding school. I have lots of friends, and the teachers aren't so bad.
Your mother and Professor Lucien seem to be on very good terms with each other. Don't you like him?
Don't know.
He seems to be very nice.
I guess.
Lady Westmacott is all by herself in the saloon. Maybe you'd like to visit her later.
Sure. The lady tells exciting stories.
I know. She's my favorite writer.
She told me that it's not much fun to write detective novels. She'd rather write something else, but her fans always want the same thing.
They made her rich and famous.
I told her to write what she wants to write. If it's good, someone will buy it. And if not, at least she had fun writing it. Then she smiled and nodded. She said it was a good idea.
What are you playing there?
I'm playing shuffleboard. At least I'm trying to.
Never played it before.
It's easy. Professor Lucien explained it to me.
And who won?
We didn't play.
You didn't want to play with him, did you? Do you want to play a game with me?
Sure.
I think you'll have to explain the rules to me first.
Okay. You play with the blue pucks and I play with the red ones. You have to push the pucks with this stick into the zone over there and score as many points as possible.
Sounds easy. How many pucks do I have?
6. Now here comes the kicker. First it's your turn, then mine, and so on. But everyone is allowed to shoot the other person's pucks out of the zone.
Then let's get started.
Oh yeah. What are we playing for?
I thought we'd just play for fun.
That's boring. We have to bet something. Otherwise it isn't fun.
You English people.
So I'll bet my brand new slingshot. And you?
I don't want to gamble.
How about ice cream in Cairo?
Okay. If I win, I get the slingshot. If I lose, I get an ice cream in Cairo.
Hey! Never try to cheat Matt Miller. So, what do you say? Ice cream versus slingshot?
All right. Let the games begin. Oh.
I win again. That's another ice cream.
This time I'll win.
Nah, I doubt that.
That's it.
Oh, man.
The athlete wins the day.
One more time.
No, that's enough for me.
All right. Here,
Are you sure?
gambling debts are debts of honor.
I'll give it back to you when I don't need it anymore, okay?
Okay, but make sure my mom doesn't catch you with it. She thinks it's dangerous.
Miss Miller and the professor are talking intensely. She seems pretty relaxed, by her standards. Miss Miller and the Good morning, Miss Miller. Professor Lucien?
Constable Zellner, how are you? I heard you passed out last night.
Well, not quite. I was poisoned.
Oh,
That wretch!
Who do you mean by that wretch?
That stowaway! That new raven!
The young man can't be the murderer. Constable Oliver had already apprehended him when the shot was fired.
You mean...
Whoever killed the Baroness is still on the loose.
I think I should take my leave. I'd like to rest for a while.
One last question, Professor. Do you think the eye is well protected in the safe in Legrand's cabin?
Of course it is. They assured me that it would take hours of work with heavy machinery to crack the safe. And if Legrand isn't in his cabin, Constable Oliver or I check that everything is in order every hour.
I understand.
I want to go back to my cabin. I'll see you later, Mary.
oh, of course. See you later.
I didn't want to interrupt your conversation with Professor Lucien so abruptly.
I don't know what's wrong with him.
Learning that there's still a burglar on board seemed to frighten him.
He was so relaxed the whole time, and then...
And then the stupid Swiss constable came by and made him anxious.
Oh, I didn't mean that.
No matter. I'm sure he'll calm down and come back soon enough. May I ask you a few questions?
Of course.
How is Matt? He seems happy enough.
After all the commotion, he's already back to his old self again. But I haven't told him about the murder. That would be a bit too much for him.
I think he's made of sterner stuff.
I want to thank you again for what you did on the train. I wouldn't have known...
Everything's fine. Think nothing of it. How was last night for you?
It was awful. I was having a conversation with Edgar, Professor Lucien, here on the forecastle. Then I wanted to look for the lady and went forward via the side deck. When I passed the Baroness's cabin, I heard a muffled scream.
You heard a scream?
Yes. I thought the Baroness probably had a fall. I went to the door and listened for a moment. Since I couldn't hear anything, I knocked on the door and asked whether she was all right. There was no answer.
Interesting. And then?
I didn't know what to do, so I tried to open the door. It was locked. I saw the Baroness's butler, Mr. Inch, on the forecastle. I thought he might have the key and went back. On the way, the bobby crossed my path, and then Edgar, who wanted to check the safe. I explained the situation to him, and then the alarm went off.
How did the scream sound?
It was a short outcry, very frightened, as if someone had been startled.
Was it a woman's voice?
Yes, the voice was high.
So it could have been a scream from the Baroness. Possibly because she discovered someone in her cabin.
Possibly.
That person might have threatened her with a weapon, so that she wouldn't scream for help.
Oh, God.
He waited until the coast was clear.
Oh, please, stop it, Mr. Zellner.
The Baroness's butler said that he was on the forecastle as well?
Yes, he was standing on the other side of the deck smoking a cigarette.
Was he on the forecastle the whole time?
I'm not sure. He was there, and later he was on the side deck with us. Oh, yes, he looked after you while you were unconscious. He unbuttoned your collar and held your head while the doctor checked you.
But you can't say for certain whether he came from the forecastle with you and Professor Lucien, or afterwards.
Well, no. But where else could he have come from?
Did you report that to Inspector Legrand?
Yes, last night. He was very interested and took a lot of notes. But I wanted to look for Lady Westmacott, and he let me go without further delay. He said that he'd take down my full statement today.
I understand.
Do you think the man from the train also killed the Baroness, Constable Zellner?
I don't know yet.
It's horrible. Explosions, thieves, murderers. This isn't the right place for a lady and a little boy.
You and Professor Lucien seem to be having a lively conversation.
Oh, yes. He's an expert in ancient Egyptian art and preeminent in hieroglyphic research. He's the head of the Egyptian department in the British Museum, you know. And he's going to open an exhibition at the Egyptian Museum in Cairo.
Right. For the eye.
They had planned on exhibiting both jewels together for the first time in decades, but that's not going to happen now, sadly. I think it's quite upsetting for him.
We're working hard to ensure that at least one eye will be on display.
I know. I'll ask Lady Westmacott if she'd like to participate in the opening of the exhibition. I think it would be good for her.
And Professor Lucien will surely offer you a private tour. You're American, aren't you?
That's correct.
And you moved to England because of the job?
I lived in England before. During the Second World War, I volunteered. I worked in a pharmacy on a US base north of London.
In a pharmacy? Interesting.
Well, it was the war and everyone was sent where they could help best.
Please, go on, Mrs. Miller.
After the war, I studied music in London. I met my husband there. We married and went back to the States together.
He was also American?
No, English. But he said he had problems with his family and he wanted to be as far from them as possible.
And you gave up your studies for him?
Well, yes, I did.
Life as a single mother couldn't have been easy.
It was pretty tough then. I worked from morning till night and it was still only enough for the bare necessities. And I couldn't give Matt all the attention he needed.
And then Lady Westmacott entered your life.
It was like an angel appeared to me. She must have offered me the position out of pity. I had no experience as a carer. She made me a generous offer. I couldn't believe it. And she really adores Matt. She's offered him a good education, and now he has every opportunity in life.
An almost unbelievable story.
I'm still afraid that it's a dream and that I'll wake up one day.
How does it feel to work for such a world-famous person?
The work is very interesting and varied, and it pays well, too.
You are very lucky that the lady offered the position to you.
I just hope she won't change her mind one day. What would become of Matt's education then? I really make an effort to measure up to Lady Westmacott's expectations, but sometimes I feel like I fall short.
Lady Westmacott couldn't ask for a better companion.
I'm saving up as much money as I can all the same. I'd do anything so that Matt doesn't have to give up his new life.
Lady Westmacott dropped a hint on the train that she killed her hero, Partout. What did she mean by that?
Oh, she must have meant the manuscript.
Manuscript?
She always takes it with her. It's an unpublished Partout novel. I once asked her why she never published it. She said that according to her will, the novel's only to be published after her death.
And in it, Partout will be killed?
Maybe. I've never read it. No one has. You'd better ask her yourself.
If you worked in a pharmacy, you would certainly know something about medicines and poisons.
Everything is a potential poison, Constable. It depends on the dose.
Have you ever heard of chloral hydrate?
It's a tranquilizer, isn't it?
I'm asking you.
Lady Westmacott also asked questions like that, for her last novel. But since I've never wanted to kill anyone, I never bothered with things like strychnine and arsenic and all that. I could recommend something for a headache, a sore throat, or rash.
That's kind of you, but there's really no need. I'll be seeing you, Miss Miller.
Constable?